to a special edition of Gutfeld, everyone. And by special, I mean I'm here and Greg's not. I'm Tom Shalhoub in for Greg Gutfeld. Let's do some jokes. Yeah, that's good. 3 of the 9/11 terrorists awaiting trial in Gitmo struck a plea deal to avoid the death penalty, but Biden hopes he can free them just in time to vote in this year's election.
Nice.
The Biden administration completed a prisoner swap of 3 Americans being held in Russia. The best part? The Russians were forced to take Brittany Griner back. Good deal. Rapper Chuck D of Public Enemy is 64 today. Chuck has kind of mellowed with age, so he wants to change the group's name to Public Nuisance. Actress Tiffany Haddish sold used underwear that she falsely claimed were Halle Berry's for $300 on Craigslist. "I want a refund," said one man. According to the New York Times, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was killed by a bomb that had been smuggled into his guest house months before he got there. Sounds like somebody is getting a bad Yelp review. 0. 0 stars. Okay, in a recent blog post, director Michael Moore gave his support to Kamala Harris, saying that it's time for white males to be shown the door. Moore then asked to be shown the door that says, "Welcome to Burger King." Fictional wizard Harry Potter turned 44 this week. You can tell Harry's getting up there in years. He's having trouble getting his magic wand to work. It's a magic joke. According to scientists, there are more gay giraffes than previously thought. And according to giraffes, scientists need to mind their own business. And finally, CNN is formally shutting down its entire online opinion section. And here I thought their opinion section was called CNN. Right? Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, let's get to the monologue. Now that they've dumped Joe, who's running the show? Where the hell is Joe Biden? He disappeared like Billy Bats in Goodfellas. The only difference is nobody's looking for him. Not that he was relevant before last week when he threw in the towel on his 2024 presidential campaign. And when he threw in that towel, he tore his rotator cuff. We really hadn't gotten much proof of life until today when Biden popped up to discuss the Russian prisoner swap of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and others. He also took some time to sing a song.
We sing happy birthday on any birthday. Ready? All of you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Miriam. Happy birthday to you. Remember, no serious guys till you're 30. God love you.
He would have sniffed her head, but he was having trouble catching his breath after that song. Now Joe is even more useless, as if that were even possible. Everywhere you look, it's Kamala all the time. She's hanging out with Megan Thee Stallion, she's doing TikToks with Lance Bass, and she's getting her cardio in by flipping on every public stance she's ever taken. She's doing everything you'd expect from a presidential candidate, except clearly answering reporters' questions. Hey, she really is like Joe. But we here at Gutfeld have been worried about our 81-year-old commander-in-chief. The only place he's still pretty active is on X, where he quit the race in the first place. Every day or two, some White House intern tweets out something from one of his accounts, like boasting that his administration has captured more fentanyl at the border than ever before. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe when you throw open the border wide open, you get a lot more drugs coming through it. But that's all happening online. Biden rarely appears in public anymore, because when he does show up where people have microphones and can ask him questions, he says stuff like this.
Mr. President, House Speaker Johnson says your Supreme Court reform is dead on arrival. What's your reaction, sir?
Who said that?
Speaker Johnson said it's dead on arrival.
I think he is.
That he is?
I think he said dead on arrival.
Yeah. When you have to explain the joke, right? Don't worry, the president is not actually threatening to kill the Speaker of the House. He has no idea what he's saying. Meanwhile, we've got the Middle East heating up again. Israel is making falafel out of the leaders of Hamas and Hezbollah, including one in Iran who's currently meeting 72 virgins who just want to be friends. Is Biden going to say anything about that? Can he say anything about that? And get this, the Biden administration just made a plea deal with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 2 other masterminds of the 9/11 attacks, taking the death penalty off the table. Shouldn't the president explain why those monsters are getting off the hook? Shouldn't the choices be firing squad, the chair, or both? The White House did put out a statement, but they might as well have sent out a shrug emoji. And perhaps the most embarrassing to Biden himself, he's speaking on the first night of the Democrat National Convention. You'd think that they'd want to kick off their fun and festive week with a bang, not a thud. Think about that. The leader of the free world being relegated to opening act. But that's where the puppet show belongs.
Oh.
He'll be in and out, and then the convention's done with him. But the country won't be. The work keeps turning. Bad stuff keeps happening. And nobody's really sure where the president is or who the president is. Which leads us to ask, why are Americans okay with allowing this silent coup to happen? He's still got the nuclear codes. Let's all pray he doesn't confuse them with his credit card PIN number. Everybody just seems to accept the idea that Joe Biden is still the president, but he isn't expected to do anything. He's supposed to be running the show until January or until his supply of Centrum Silver runs out. So they've just got him squirreled away somewhere. And like a squirrel, he's surrounded by nuts. And if you don't believe this White House would lie to you about Joe Biden's condition, where the hell have you been? They've been lying to us about his condition for years. That's why millions were shocked by his performance at the June 27th debate. The debate he demanded, or his staff did. Joe Biden wanted America to think of him as a kindly grandpa. Instead, he's a deadbeat dad. The problem is, nobody knows who's actually running things, and they're just going to keep lying about it. After all, what's the worst we can do? Write a late-night monologue about it? Let's check in and see what the president has to say for himself.
No. Look, I'm still the president. I'm still the president. It's just nobody told me how easy this job could be. I feel retired. Emphasis on the tired. Not a joke. But I'm doing all those retirement things. You know, I took up needlepoint, and I'm reading the obituaries, and I just took a reverse mortgage on the White House. Yeah, I called William Devane, bought some gold coins, and I'm going to visit the grandkids, except that one. And since Trump chickened out, I'm going to challenge some other ex-presidents to a game of golf. Jerry Ford, I'm coming for you. Oh, you just got to carry your own bag.
All right, let's welcome tonight's guests. He's had so many people killed, his friends call him Hillary. Former CIA operative Mike Baker. She's seen more interceptions than Biden's handlers. Former NFL sideline reporter Michelle Tafoya. His ex-wife left him with one thing. I'm kidding, she took that too. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. And she's pregnant, which means she can now vote twice. New York Times bestselling author, Fox News contributor. All right, Baker, I got to go to you first. You know, the key to that monologue is where I said, why are the American people okay with this? Yeah. And, you know, it's not that it's illegal. We know what happened here, but do you agree with my characterization as a silent coup?
Yeah, first of all, I got to say, you're a very brave comedian saying, let's do some jokes, and then the first thing you do is show the pictures of the 9/11 terrorists. Where the hell are we going
too
here?
Soon?
Yeah,
too soon?
Yeah, I looked over at the prompter, I just saw 9/11.
Yeah.
Whoa, boy, where's he going with that?
I know. You can, there's a lot of material there. So, you know what? Yes, I don't understand how America is all right with the current situation, because look, the commander-in-chief, it's always said, is the leader of the free world, but it is actually true. And the world is currently on fire. I mean, you'd have to go back a long ways to remember when we have so many critical hotspots, so many crises going on, global conflicts at the same time. And this is when you need that leader. Now, look, fair go. We just had thank goodness, the release of Paul Whelan, Evan Gershkovich, and others. And that was, you got to give the White House credit, right? That was very good. So that was something, right? But we're not seeing, Joe, as you pointed out. So you have to assume, what, is Kamala Harris in charge? And then you think about this and you think, well, wait a minute, how did she get to be in charge? How did she go from being a midwit who spectacularly failed upwards just a couple of weeks ago when no Democrat thought that she was a competent or competitive candidate or nominee, to now she's Joan of Arc and Beyonce all rolled up in one with some Margaret Thatcher thrown in, right? But that's the world we live in. I don't understand it, and I hate to say this, but I think we're making our way towards a November election where Kamala Harris is going to win. And I'm not saying I want that. I'm saying that's what I'm afraid of, because I think the Democrats do exactly what they're told. I know I'm just down a rabbit hole here, but the Democrats do what they're told, right? They're given their marching orders, and they do what they're told. They fall in line. And that's what we're seeing right here. That's why when you say, how does this happen? It's because of that, because half the country is willing to say, okay, you tell me that she's now our nominee, great. You tell me to say that, you know, Trump is weird, fine. You tell me to say that she's not, the borders are, fine. They do what they're told, and for that reason alone, I have a feeling that this is going to end badly in November.
Well, look, he knows this is an information war like we've never seen before, Michelle, and we're going to see 4 months of this kind of onslaught from the Democrats. And obviously, they have not just the mainstream media, but all of entertainment and the entire tech companies at their disposal. So essentially, they own the information game. But the one thing that we have going for us is that people have woken up. And after that ridiculous period of years that was the massive COVID boondoggle, people just don't trust anything anymore. They don't trust the media. They don't trust their government. So they're going to look at that this fall and say, to hell with these people.
Well, you know what just happened in Venezuela? Maduro got reelected. It won't turn over the numbers. And so when you said, I have a feeling this is going to go badly because of what we just saw in Venezuela, we could have the same thing. You know, it's ironic and it's funny and it's so damn depressing that everything they tried to say, like, oh, Donald Trump, if he gets in, he'll never leave. And yet, what did they just do with their candidate? And how did they manipulate this whole thing? And by the way, she's not really formally nominated yet, but you're right. Everyone is just showering her with all this. She went from, I'm not kidding you, 2 weeks ago, oh my God, are we gonna have to run Kamala? To, yes, we're running Kamala. I mean, what the hell happened? So this is crazy. And by the way, about the 9/11 masterminds getting to negotiate a plea deal, I thought they'd want to die because then they'd get their virgins. You know, why aren't they just willing to say, please give us our death sooner the better? But the fact that the United States of America is letting these guys plea down from the death penalty is just enough to make me want to vomit. We've forgotten where we were on 9/11.
Wouldn't you want to find yourself in a room with 72 experienced women instead of 72 virgins? I've never understood that.
For the record, so what do you think? I actually disagree with Baker. I don't know if he totally. This fall, I think Americans are going to wake up. They're not going to fall for it. And are you with me on that, audience? I don't think they're going to fall for this.
I hope so. I hope that's the case. I don't have a lot of faith in the fact that, because people wake up, but then people move on, right? We're all like raccoons chasing the next shiny object, and everybody's got ADHD.
It seems like a race of shiny objects right now. Like, you do this, I'll do that. You do this, I'll do that. So whoever has the last shiny object might win.
So the world is almost going to come to an end. Can you say something funny about that, Jamie?
Well,
no pressure.
In all seriousness, would you settle for 2 virgins, 68 experienced women, and just 2 complete whores?
You know,
I feel like that would be a good mix. If Biden's still in charge, Tom, I'm frightened. Did you see in the clip, he was singing Happy Birthday, and there's a moment where he's like, what are the words? It's the same words over and over. Exactly. It's the only song where it's only 5 words, and there's a moment where I go, I certainly hope this guy, and you made me laugh in the monologue when you said he's supposed to be the headliner. Of this event. He's the president, he's supposed to go last, and they made him I hope his speech is, I hope he goes, mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Mic check. Okay, we're starting in 5 minutes. Then I hope he exits. I hope that's all he does for this thing.
They're going to tell him, you can be the opening act. No crowd work. You can't do crowd work.
Where are you guys from? Last thing on Guantanamo, I actually did, I don't know if you ever, when you're doing stand-up, if you ever did like a tour. I did a tour, a military tour, where I actually performed right near Guantanamo Bay. We got to, you could see, the prisoners, they told us, could hear us. It was an outdoor venue.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm joking. I swear I'm not. And it was just, it's fascinating. And if you read into this, we learned so much just by being on base, but they're saying, the one dude, they waterboarded him. It was like 183 times, which begs, they sometimes say, Mike would know this better than I, but if you're tortured a ton, like, how do we know? Like, oftentimes if you're tortured a lot, you don't tell the truth, which is why when I was married, my ex-wife lied all the time. And I actually got one Yelp review from a prisoner about my act. He said, it's better than waterboarding is funnier. And
Greg's going to use that next time you're on the show.
Yeah.
By the way, it's not torture. It's an enhanced interrogation technique.
oh, is that right?
That is right. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
According to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
According to the guy who did it every day.
Got you. Do you mean my marriage or the Guantanamo thing?
Kat, do you think that Joe Biden realizes he's not running this fall? He doesn't appear that he realizes what's happened to him.
Well, it hasn't appeared that way for a while. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of him, I guess, but I also feel like, you know, like the metaphor of the frog in the boiling water where you're slowly turning up,
yes.
You know, they don't realize they're dying. It's kind of like that because I actually am like, we've been seeing him kind of more than I thought, which is insane given the fact that he's the president. We aren't seeing him that much, but think about after he announced he was dropping out on like basically a notes app, like screenshot on Twitter.
Yeah.
We were like, is he here with us? Like I didn't know that we would ever see him again.
Yes.
I didn't know we would ever see him ever again. So now that we actually have a tape to roll, it's like, oh, he's around, even though the bar for that is ridiculous if he's allegedly still running the country. But I think it's because they've done things like this that have gotten so used to the fact that, like, he's here, that's like somehow acceptable.
The lies just continue. It's business as usual. All right, before we go, tickets are on sale for my Spontaneous Combustion solo show comedy tour. This September, I'll be in Philly, Red Bank, New Jersey, Raleigh, Richmond, and in October, Buffalo. Go to TomShalhoub.com for tickets. Up next, Trump takes no crap from journalists trying to set traps.
If you'll be in the New York area and would like tickets to see Gutfeld, go to foxnews.com/Gutfeld and click on the link to join our studio audience.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.